Good morning, Service Alliance community. How y'all doing today? Brother Doug,
Good morning, man.
what's up?
Doing great, doing great. Sorry I missed you guys last week. It was colonoscopy time. That's my first one. It was exciting. It was like going to Disney World. It was all that and a bag of chips. Actually, it wasn't. It wasn't. It went fine. Nothing terrible went. I was just telling Zach before the pre-roll. There are people that live in that lane of dramedy, and just making a big deal about it. I was telling Zach, I don't even know if it really happened because I went to sleep pretty quickly out of nowhere. And some guy with a bow tie. And then when I woke up, a nurse was giving me some crackers, man. I don't know if anything happened. It could be a big scam. They give you a little propofol and put you in the corner of a room and let you wake up and spin the wheel for diagnosis. You're all set. Good to go. See you in 5 years, right? It's the best, man. Don't even fret it. Don't let those colonoscopy haters go and build up stuff that isn't really that built up. And if anyone's listening and it was a traumatic experience for you, I didn't mean it. Whatever I just said didn't matter.
Saul wants to know if you got a hug from the doctor afterwards. I was going to ask if you got chocolates or something, at least a handful.
I don't think I woke up quickly enough. The nurse said she had to nudge me a little bit. That's as close as I got to a hug, Andrew. Oh, and then we were walking out and a guy with a cane almost fell over and I had to catch him. That was pretty close to a hug. Like he came into my shoulder arm area. So, yeah, Saul, were you there? I did get a hug. I didn't realize that.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, today, I love when the themes line up with, our natural inclinations.
For those who check in are probably like, oh, here we go again, mindset.
Yeah. The theme for the week is the owner's mindset. And so Doug and I, we're going to kind of talk about ownership as a responsibility and not just that title.
Mm-hmm.
What does that really look like? How do you begin to kind of shift into the mindset of an owner? I think a lot of us had a hard time stepping out of being a technician into the ownership role. We're fixers and we tend to try and fix everything. So what does it look like to begin to shift that mindset, step into ownership as a responsibility? So not that we don't talk about this every single week, but we're going to kind of, funnel it into an episode, a cohesive episode for you guys.
So. Yeah, absolutely. Saul's given us a challenge. Take 3 items and make them match up with the theme of the conversation today. All right, give me one more, Saul. Let me see if I can improv that in. All right, let me open us in prayer. Lord God, it's Monday, and it followed that Hallmark holiday, Mother's Day. But what a blessing it is, Lord, for us to all pause and to think about those women in our lives that impacted us. For some of us, those women are no longer here with us, but yet the love that they put into us, even sometimes the lack of love, the time with that person shaped us and molded us today, made us better, sometimes put us through challenges, but also that too can make us better. So we lift up all the moms of the world, the new young ones, the grandmothers. We thank you for them nurturing us and raising us up. Lord God, I pray for Andrew Soper today. Lord, I'm grateful to be his friend. I'm thankful that he has taken that trip from tech-minded Andrew to ownership-minded Andrew, and it's been a blessing to watch his journey. as a businessman. And we just pray that this week, this month, this quarter, this year, that you bless his business, his customers, and his employees. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Morning, Joe and Gary.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, well, that's a lot of what we're going to kind of talk about today, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I used to be the employee that would get sideways. So,
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
Typically, it's they are doing something that we modeled. And so it's reflecting a mirror back at us of the things that we do not want in our own self.
Whoa, you're just getting right into it like that, Zach? You're not even going to walk it in slowly?
No.
You're just going to call the owners?
Smack them over the head with it.
This is very, very true. Very true.
Really, it most of what goes wrong is our fault. It's all our fault because we're the leaders. And so we are ultimately responsible. But yeah, a lot of times when we sense frustration, and this is just psychology overall in our own life, if we're frustrated with the way someone is acting, it's typically reflecting a mirror back at us for some shortcoming in our life. And so you have to start by looking inside and kind of figuring out what's going on in me, and then you can work on the outward. So so coming out of being a technician and stepping into an owner's mindset, maybe what was the most difficult thing for you in that process, Doug? Right? Because you're leading the team. You might not be the owner, but you are, for all intents and purposes, like you are the number one.
Yeah.
So did you have any difficulties making that shift from technician to leader?
The most difficult part is not being aware, and then being aware but not sure how to get out of it. A couple times in our married life, my wife and I, we've gotten ourselves in a little bit of debt where we make less than we spend more than we make. And you know what? Anyone who's in the finance world, anyone there to help you through your finances, the first thing they always ask you to do is to write down everything that you spend your money on. Or how about losing weight? Same thing. You know what? I have some friends, they say, well, you need to write down everything you eat. And both answers are the same when they give you that direction. Like, for what? I already know I eat too much. I already know I spend too much. And it's like, this is so dumb. That's not going to get me out of debt. We're almost looking for like the quick silver bullet. But it's realistic. It's the reality. You have to look at the reality, and it has to change your mindset. And so you need that little light bulb moment to happen. For me, it's the mirror. Exactly. For me, it was a technician quit, and it was in an area that I couldn't really send any technicians to. So I decided, as the general manager, to go and do his calls in that area for like 2 weeks. So each week I probably brought in $5,000 to $7,000 a week, for those each week. And I was like, yeah, all right, man, we're getting things done. But then everything else started to fall apart. And so what is $14,000 to your plan or where you're heading? It's a drop in the bucket. It's not even sustainable unless I'm prepared to say I'm going back on the road and I'll run the company from the road. Problem was, I was already off the road long enough that I was rusty as hell and slow. So it's taken me 11 hours to do what I used to do in 7 hours. I needed a dose of reality that you need to get into your imaginary helicopter and pull the stick maybe back and rise yourself up 100 feet. And when you can do that and you can look down on the big play, the big picture, it's way easier to make decisions as a business owner. But as long as you're one of the troops on the ground, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for you to visually see why it makes sense for you to give up that $300 job to make your company earn an extra $30,000 or $300,000 that year, because you've got to invest your time in the right places as a business owner.
So that's a tough mindset to let go of, right? That's slipping into the I'm the only one who can do it right, and no one else can do it the way I do it, and no one else is going to take care of my customers the way I do. So what? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not the best person to take care of customers. There's people better suited to serve customers than I am.
Yeah.
And you kind of need to let them do it. And so, yeah, and Andrew says being a boss is crappy. Yeah, it is, because, you know, despite all the jokes and reels and everything else, crap really does roll uphill when it comes to owning a small business, right? So,
but I'll tell you something too, is being a business owner and you're on a journey that you've never been on before, man, you're going to screw up. You're going to make decisions that don't work. You're going to evaluate something you tried and go, I lost this much money in this much time. But I think that when we're really good technicians, so good that we decide that we're going to start our own business, there's a comfort zone of being in a place that you're good at, and being complacent to say, well, at least I brought in $14,000 the last 2 weeks, because, you know, I was going to hire a tech, and you have him riding with you for a month and then you let him go or he quits, and you're like, oh, failed. And how much did all that cost me? Well, that cost me $20,000. What the hell? So you need, part of that mindset is be prepared to go to school, the hard school of knocks, learning, and be excited about screwing up. Be excited about, what did I learn from that thing that I did? It had mediocre results, good results, great results, terrible results. What did I learn from it? It can get exciting. You just have to get into that mindset that you're trying to figure it all out.
I think that first shift is shifting from that survival, that fight or flight mode, into creativity, right? Like, because as owners and leaders, we have to be creative. We have to kind of think outside of the normal box, right? That daily grind. Essentially, we have to move from just trying to survive in that to thriving, and it takes some creativity to be able to figure out how all the different pieces of the puzzle fit in, right? Who's answering the phone, who's running the calls, who's, you know, leading the team
Right.
when I'm not present. It takes a level of creativity to kind of see that path. And it takes a level of creativity to see how each individual within the business interacts with each other within that ecosystem of the business. We were talking a little bit in the pre-roll about the working geniuses and the interactions on teams with those different personalities, right?
Yep.
And so Doug, being the galvanizer, is a very cheerleader, rah-rah, I'm gonna pump the team up. And he has a team member who's much like me, that needs those words of affirmation, but is not going to give him any feedback that they appreciate those words of affirmation.
Yeah.
And so you have personality types like that. And how do you work with that? That is part of the owner's mindset, is learning, seeking out the answers, and how to, continue that process.
Yeah.
So, um, do you find it was hard to shift from task based to the other things, right? Like shifting from, I got to fix this washer, I got to fix this dryer, I got to fix this oven, to, oh crap, this guy's not showing up for work. Like, was it hard for you to kind of flip modes of
May-
thinking?
Maybe in the very beginning, but if we could put that lens on that, the direct drive washer, no spin, but drains. All
Yeah.
right, jumper. We know it already. Those machines aren't even out there anymore, right? So I'm talking like a relic. But anyway, if we could switch from that to when we hire someone, a CSR or a technician, to recognize their personality style and begin to like try to work as a team. It's the same thing. It's diagnosing a person instead of a machine. Same thing goes with you hire a technician and you get him on the road and he makes 4 really big mistakes, but they're really your fault because you didn't put SOPs in place.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, whoa, what happened there? Damn, that's a big deal. Let me fix that. Let me fix the SOP. Diagnosis, repair. It's the same thing, except it's not appliances, it's processes and people. And it's interesting, Zach. My Facebook page is now loaded with the HVAC guy that went from 1 million to 200. It's maybe on yours as well.
Right.
And the Cardone. I got like 10 different people of different sizes, colors, sexes. They're all saying, I can grow your business for you with 5 easy steps. Here's some cards. Here's some voodoo magic. It's amazing. These people figured it out. And I'm telling you, it isn't rocket science. It really comes down to some basic components. And all we have to do is be committed to putting time into them. So maybe a business coach could help you dedicate and break up your time. But for the most part, guys, it's process, it's people, it's marketing, it's hiring, and that's it. It's putting in the time in those each categories.
So you bring up a good point there. And I think that's really what we try and teach, and that's what we try and share anytime we're on the podcast, right? It's really easy to go and pick up those ingredients,
Mm-hmm.
but not everyone can be a cook,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
so there's 5 easy steps, or 6 easy steps to be a business owner, to scale your company. But the actual act, the actual mindset, the actual creativity required to combine those ingredients into a successful dish, that's the skill. That's that mindset shift that has to happen. You have to move from, blaming the customer. And we see it all the time in the groups, right? We see guys, oh, my customer, they're so dumb. This machine is terrible. This manufacturer sucks. That's the wrong mindset, right? If you're leading a company, you have to cast off that mindset, and you have to begin to figure out how to combine all those ingredients.
And something, Zach, there's not one correct way of building
No.
a service business.
No.
I mean, as I get to know all these friends in the industry that are successful, more successful than Action Appliance, it's really cool to see how they come at it from a completely different angle. I haven't done it in a while, but in another association, I was helping onboard online peer groups, and so I would facilitate for a little while, 6 months, and it's interesting. There'd be in every group that I've done, there's like one to three out of the 5 or 6 in there. They're just there to check it out, but they're not seriously committed to it. They're not willing to double down and begin to take steps. They're getting feedback from peers, and whether they're in the weeds and they have a hard time seeing it, they need to get over that and begin to trust the people that say, "Do you see it? This is where you're falling short." "Yeah, I do," and then they give you 5 excuses. If you got excuses, you're doing something wrong, but you want to live in your excuses. Yeah, just put the business away and go work for someone.
Yep.
Then you can complain about the way they run their business, but at least you get a paycheck, and then you don't have to worry about going out of business at night or on the weekends. That's why Andrew's a really great guy. I rarely hear him complaining. It's always like there's this thing going on, and I tried this and this. What do other people do? What do other people do? And he's always seeking that self-education. So if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to stretch and grow, just pack it up, man.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be so much happier,
100%. 100%. And I love what you said there. The ingredients are all the same.
Mm-hmm.
All of them. To create a successful business, the ingredients don't change. But the dish that comes out at the end is all related to the person stirring the pot, right?
Sure.
And so I think the biggest thing, if you take nothing else away, it's looking internally and figuring out the things that you don't want to figure out the things that you do want within your business. And then you'll begin to have a successful business. Because if you combine all those ingredients, you can figure out the things that are going wrong that you don't want within that business.
Right.
You can begin to take the action steps to create that business. But yeah, to your next point, if you're playing the blame game, just pack it up. It's not going to change if you can't change.
Right.
So,
and then there's fear. There's fear, Zach. I mean, it to be true.
100%.
But you're just nervous about going forward, or you just really have a hard time seeing the next steps. But if you're open-minded to just asking questions, being vulnerable, letting people around you know that you don't have all the answers. Actually, just a few days ago, I was on a little small group talking about they wanted to hear more about service plans and memberships and things like that. But it's cool. In the midst of the conversation with the people in that Zoom call, the other person is EJ and I, we both recognized that they don't need that stuff. They're booked out a week or two. So they don't need more work. They can't even handle the potential revenue that's coming in. They need to hire and grow their tech team. And when we started talking about that, well, that took the air out of the room, it felt like a little bit, because it's so exciting to create something new, but to dig in where it's the most challenging. And so I'm praying hard for those two guys in that group, because I hope that they find in their own approach what's the next step to overcome the hurdles and the fears and concerns about hiring and finding someone and making it better, But that can happen to us as business owners. I left that meeting incredibly inspired, Zach. It's like, I'm not sure that they fully get what I can see plain as day outside of their experience. I get the blessing of being able to look at it from here and go, it's not about bringing in $50,000 or $100,000 extra in maintenance, annual maintenance cleanings. You can't even get those done. It's It's about growing your team and making it so that you're not the main guy, And I was left inspired going, I have to be careful that when I'm in a network meeting and somebody is pointing something at me, that I don't quickly go, I already know. No, I already tried that. And then you know what I'm doing? I'm just moving left and ignoring something that someone pointed out to me. So I want to be open always to hearing from someone else's perspective, an area that I need to work on, even when I don't have the answer. Just like being a technician going into a Thermador wall oven from the late 80s. Holy that's a pretty scary machine for me back in the day. A lot of components. Diagnosing it was hard, but once I got through it, the victory was good, right?
Yeah, I think to your point, it kind of goes back to what Andrew brought up very early on. How do you not get defensive when an employee gets sideways? How many people are scared to hire someone on because of that kind of mindset, right? Like it's well, what happens if I hire a bad employee, or what happens if they don't do it the way I did it, or what happens if, and they get stuck in that mindset, and then they're the only one in the business. And the reality is, having been there, you own a job at that point. If you want to be a true business owner, you're going to create a place where others can demonstrate their skill, demonstrate their strengths, right? And their weaknesses are going to show too. And that's part of leadership, is helping to strengthen them in their weakness, help them find a path forward. But you have to move from this very, it's almost opposed to each other, right? Because we have to look internally to figure out what's going on, what we want to create, the things that are going wrong. But then we have to look externally to kind of fix those problems, right? We're going to bring other people on. We're going to help other people grow in their lives. We're going to lead other people. And so it's this constant push and pull of internal, external. And I think that's probably the most tiring part of it, but it's also the most rewarding and joyful, right? So for me, leading the technical teams, like, I love mixing. I can get lost in making the audio sound good, making the band sound great. But I find more joy when the guys that I'm leading go, oh, that thing that you showed me last week, I took that to heart, and then I kind of did it. And how does it sound now? Right. Yeah. And it's the same thing in appliance repair. Oh, man, I had this really difficult customer, and I remembered what you said, and I asked them some questions, and all of a sudden, the customer wasn't difficult anymore. There's more joy in that, right?
Absolutely. I love that we're bouncing back and forth from tech world to business world, because it's literally, there's very much, it's the same. Like, you had a GE refrigerator, intermittent cooling issue. You get there, it's working fine. You look at the evaporator, you look at the fans, the compressors running. Now, what are you going to do? Well, you can call GE tech support. You can see if there's any bulletins. You can find out what's going on. Oh, no, I don't want the customer to know that I don't know what's wrong. So I don't want to really call tech support, because it's a sign of weakness. Check it out, right? To me, I would bring the customer over when I had that fear, and I'd go, let me show you something. And I would point to them, and I'd give them basically a quick lesson on how a refrigerator works. And when I was done, they'd go, so it's all working fine then, right? I go, yes, but not really, right? Because then I leave and there's intermittent cooling. So the good news is, this is a really tricky problem, but I have GE tech support. So I'm going to call. And when we're done, If that tech support guy has confident direction for us to head in, that's great. If not, you and I will decide to poke at whatever's first to take it on. What we've done is we've explained to the customer what's really going on and why we're making the decisions to go in a certain direction. And it's kind of cool because the opposite of that is you don't share much, and the tech is in the house. He's been there for an hour. He's mumbling, the F word under his breath. He's like, ma'am, I'll be right back. He's outside in the driveway. They can tell he's on the phone with tech support. Now they're on the phone with my office going, I don't think you sent a guy that knows what he's doing. Why is it that the same problem, if you talk and you bring the customer in, it's a game changer for the most part. Check it out, guys. As a business owner, same thing. You got an employee that goes sideways, bring them in. You don't have time for this, but bring them in. Sit down, talk to them, ask them what's going on. What do you think we should do? Let them throw out 2 or 3 things. Guess what? Most of the time, they're not going to be great ideas. Why? Because they're at the 5-foot level. You're at the 100-foot level. You know that what he really wants or she really wants, it's not something that's obtainable because they don't have all the factors, but you do. So share with them the factors. We'll go, hey, those are some great ideas, but check this out. We have to deal with this, this, and this. So that makes it a little harder, doesn't it? And if the employee goes, yeah, I see what you're saying, you've brought them along. If they go, I don't care about this, this, and this, you're just making my life hell. Guess what, Andrew? It's time to work that employee out. Work them out. But if you could,
the other side of that, Doug, is the ones who you don't have to work out. Now they've come to that level. They have somewhat of an understanding. And guess what? Your employees might be more creative than you.
Now they're great eyes and ears for you. If you can explain to them the why, and you're over here working, they're over here, they're an extension of you. They can share with you what's going on, and you guys can make a collective, collaborative decision, which is so freaking cool when that happens, man.
Those ideas they come with in the first round may not be good, but once you've brought them along on the journey and you've helped to elevate their view, now all of a sudden they can be more creative and begin to find solutions to the problems. Because
I'm interviewing a 5-year experienced technician from a company that I know, but he's moving out of the region. He gets it all. Just like he's just talking to me, and he's saying the 500-foot level stuff, even though he's not there at his other company. That's pretty exciting to see somebody that you don't have to teach and coach. What we think is obvious as business owners, it isn't obvious to them, And so if you can bring those kinds of people on board and incentivize them, we at Action Appliance love to it might be frustrating to hear for some people that work for us, but like a partner, except you don't have to deal with bankruptcy or cash flow issues or a line of credit or loans, but you're going to have a great paycheck. But if you can be our eyes and ears and help make us a better company, you want to change. I threw this out here the other day. If you think our logo could be improved, anything you want, bring it my way. Because if it is better and we decide, boy, you're getting the credit, and this is a beautiful thing we're building together. Yep.
Yeah, it's fun to bring people along, right? It's I think one of the next big shifts that happens is when you can recognize those different personalities within your business and you can begin to respond to them instead of react to them, right? You respond to them in a way that they understand. And so, again, another example, we have a worship leader that does things a certain way because that's just what he's used to doing. And so one Sunday I said, hey, so why do you do it this way? And he explained it. I said, okay, cool. I said, as sound guys, here's why that doesn't work for us. And here's how we can help each other. So what if we try you doing this thing, and then you do this piece that we need you to do, and let's see how it goes. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I'll try that. This person is a why person. They need to understand the why before they're
Right.
going to actually make that shift that needs to happen. We have technicians that are like that.
Mhm.
We have some technicians and some CSRs that don't care about the why. What do they care about? It's your
Mhm.
job as the leader, and this is where that kind of shift in mindset comes. They're not fighting you because they want to fight you. They just don't know how to communicate what
Mhm.
they're seeing, what they're feeling, what they're going
They
through.
don't have enough information.
And it's your job as the owner
Right.
to diagnose that and
Yep.
figure out how to help them into the next step. How do they communicate? Are they a why? Are they a how? Are they a who? Right? What is it that they interact with that you can kind of meet them at their level and
Mhm.
begin to work forward together? That's the
Agreed.
shift. That is
Agreed.
the shift in technician to owner as a responsibility and not just a title. If you are truly reaching in and meeting people where they are, then you begun to take the responsibility as an owner
Mhm.
and not just a title on your desk.
That's right. That's right. And look at Andrew's last response there. Patience, in my opinion, is a resource that you have as a business owner to your external customers and your internal customers. Internal customers being your employees. I'm a people pleaser, so my patience tank is really large. The downside of that, I'm going to be slow to improve the way I train and coach and hold employees accountable and do the right thing sometimes by letting them go, right? Or when you hold people accountable, they leave. Because I'm an extra patient person, I'm going to have this valley of putting up with crap and not doing anything about it. So if you have less patience, then that lack of abundance, you need to manage that resource well. So if you don't have it, then you got to get through that cycle of of identifying an issue with your employee, coaching them, teaching them, holding them accountable, and then making sure that they're here because they belong here, or have them move on. Right, and that's a hard thing to do, is to have people move on, because we can use a whole bunch of reasons why we keep people around. Like, well, I'm very busy right now. I'll take it. He or she's not that huge of a disruption. But would you send that technician to your friend's house? If the answer is no, then they got to go, right? So, but Andrew, to me, we don't want to waste that resource of patience. So GWC, does the employee get it? Do they want it? And do they have the capacity to do the job? If it's no to capacity, or want it, then you got to let them go, because it's never going to work out. If they don't get it, you spend some time trying to help them see it. And if they don't, if you deem it that they can't see where we're heading, move on sooner than later. Who knows? I probably would be in a completely different place if I figured that out 15 years ago, but that's the journey we're on, Zach.
And for a counterpoint, Doug has a great deal of patience. I have no patience whatsoever. And so while you put up with the crap and then make the plan, I've gotten really good now. It's taken time to get
Yeah.
to this point. Because my patience is so short, I've had to learn how to recognize problems,
Yep.
recognize solutions, or bring other people along
Mhm.
to help create solutions much faster than I
Yeah.
used to.
Yeah.
Because if I run out of patience and we haven't solved the problem, oh
I've
boy,
seen it.
watch
Chairs are
out.
flying everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and so, you know, I feel like owners do fall into either of these two categories. Either they have this great patience and sometimes are very, very slow to react to things, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Or, they're tossing chairs when they run out of patience.
That's right.
The owner mindset is always shining that mirror back on yourself,
Mhm.
figuring out which one you are, and beginning to adapt
Yeah.
to your style. So I learned that I had to recognize these
Mhm.
issues and bring people along and have conversations faster.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't, I was out of patience.
Yep.
And so whichever category you fall into, begin to recognize that and begin to take those steps. It's a big
It's
leap into ownership.
we're both doing the same thing, right? Identifying the problem, discussing a solution, and then putting something into play, right? Solving the problem. And if you do that once or twice and you get a negative result, well, then the decision has been made here, right? Do you hate Zen
Does that
Garden?
Zach needs Zen Gardens more to kind of whoosah?
No, no. I mean, I think it's like the college basketball coach. He'd be that hard ass on the bench, but he's not just screaming and yelling during practice. He's identifying,
Right.
determining a direction, putting in solutions, and then game time they got to deliver. And if they don't deliver, they know exactly where you stand. Where the more patient coach is standing there, and the fans are going, the hell's wrong with this guy? Why isn't he pissed off that they're losing? Why is he just standing there with his arms folded? I'd be like, different styles, but it's still the same approach.
Right.
IDS, right?
Right. And sometimes I have to put on that mask of Doug, and
Reagan?
pretend to be the more
Yeah, yeah.
patient person, right? Um,
Well,
because again, it's identifying who's on your team and who you're working with. You have to figure those things out. You have to identify faster.
Well, and just to make this fun, this is a real thing, Zach. Sometimes I have to put the Zach face on, right? Like I have to make sure I visibly, carefully, fully show that I'm frustrated
Right.
with the situation because my nature is to sugarcoat it a little bit. And I've even taught that with my office manager who handles all escalated calls, and she's in charge of 8 people in the office. I've said the same. I've done it to her. I said, we're very similar. So here's the deal with this CSR. We are past that point of grace and holding her accountable. You and I talk about, you're going to write this down. You're going to say this short script in this next meeting, and you're going to fight the impulse to add a little fluff and encouragement. Zero encouragement, not asshole mode, but zero encouragement.
Here's
Hey,
what I need done. Get it
hey,
done.
hey, sit down. We're here because the same problem has happened. We've asked you to try a couple things. At this point, we're concerned about your future here. So I'm going to schedule a week from now. I need to see immediate change. Okay, great. Okay, please. Okay, you can leave now. You're directing them to sit and you're telling them to leave. That's not my style. That's
Right.
not my office manager style. But I saw that I have to switch gears and go into Zach mode because I want the employee to know how serious it is.
Yep.
And so I have to swing to the dark side, to the Zach side, because I owe it to them. I really don't want them to fail. And I want to scare them, but in a professional way. So we don't throw chairs yet.
I love that. Yeah, probably. I pulled out my MetaQuest the other day because I got this meditation app, and I've been trying to take a few minutes. I don't have the patience for it. Patience land isn't real. I think in Doug's world it is.
Absolutely. We're all fat and lazy, tell you that much. Anyway.
Well, guys, hopefully this kind of helped solidify. The ingredients are all the same.
Mhm.
it comes to a little bit of self-reflection and how you combine those ingredients to begin to take ownership as a responsibility and not as a title. So hopefully that helps some of you guys out here today. Join us on Saturday, all access members. We are talking sales negotiation on Saturday. You guys know that I love talking about sales. And so I'm going to be going through, what does it look like to negotiate? How do we practice this? How do we work with our teams on becoming better salespeople? Because whether you like it or not, whether your technicians like it or not, we are all salespeople. We all have to get better at sales to continue to be successful in our business. So if you're not an all access member, servicealliancegroup.com, come join us and come and hang out with some other really smart people who are looking to better their companies together. So
how do people find this mastermind? Is it in our emails?
If they are an all access member, it's on the calendar in the all access area. So you go to the members area as an all access member on the website, servicealliancegroup.com. You scroll down to member calendar, and all of the masterminds are scheduled for the all access members. Can't see it if you only subscribe to manuals. Can't see it if you're not a member. Got to log into your all access account, and the calendar is there. You can join with that link on Saturday.
Sweet.
All right. Well, that was fun.
Yes.
We will see you. We will see you next time on the Morning Grind, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to the Morning Grind podcast by Service Alliance Group. Subscribe to our channel and make sure you visit our website at servicealliancegroup.com for appliance repair business resources.